The explosion of ballroom culture from an outsider. So something that made me want to make this video was actually when I was going through Instagram and I had found an Instagram video of Brooklyn Juicy Couture. And generally I wouldn't have thought very much of this video, except I wanted to go to the comments for some reason. As I checked the comments, I noticed that someone was asking what kind of dance this was and how it worked. It then dawned on me that I knew enough to understand it, but this was still something incredibly niche to a lot of people. But through Instagram and other platforms, it's sort of become more palatable in a sense. Speaking from my own experience, I've been watching ballroom videos since 2013, where my first introduction was from something called Vogue Dramatics, and I was sort of hooked. For me, the element of hand performance and dips was something I didn't really know about. Now this topic has more than 60 years worth of history behind it, so I'm sort of going to zoom past most of it. So where did this explosion of media come from? Well, I think there's quite a few things at play here. A small history lesson: these sort of balls had been going on for years and years, way before its big explosion in Madonna's Vogue in 1990. Two big documentaries about the ballroom scene is 1990's Paris is Burning and the 1968 documentary Queen. It's commonly said that the history of the ballroom we know today started from Crystal LeBeija, who created the House of LeBeija and is a well-known icon in the ballroom scene as someone who not only reinvented ballroom culture but also created a scene for Latin, Black, trans people. A lot of people currently may know her from Aja LeBeija's portrayal of her during the All Stars 3 Snatch Game. You see, ballroom culture was still something that was incredibly underground, especially during the time where it was hard for people to be a part of the LGBT community. A lot of these people would then come together, with one of the biggest epicenters being New York. They'd create families known as houses that would help support each other and create support networks. They would also then compete in balls for cash prizes and trophies as a way to celebrate themselves in a variety of categories. Bringing up Madonna again, when she came out with Vogue, she actually used quite a few people from the ballroom scene in the background of her video. Even then, we still didn't really see a lot of ballroom in our mainstream. I believe our second surge of it came through MTV with America's Best Dance Crew Season 4. Bringing in Vogue Evolution, they ended up finishing in 5th place, but really brought a style to the show that hadn't really been represented in much of the media since the 90s. One of the biggest storylines involved Naomi Maldonado, who was a big deal for the show as she was a big trans representative. I think this was a big boom for ballroom culture. The exposure that Vogue Evolution gave ballroom was massive, especially when queer media was still in its infancy with shows like Drag Race, that has now, in 2023, become a massive franchise in its own right. But why didn't this explode around the 2010s? I think Drag Race's success and the references to Paris is Burning helped bring a spotlight onto the ballroom culture. But where does this leave us now in 2023? Well, ballroom culture has really become something of an internet meme, from videos showing off what people can do and how intense it can get, as well as people even adopting Vogue dance elements when making fun of things such as the new Drake album. And then through shows like Pose, people are able to see a rough idea of what the ballroom scene was like back in the 80s and 90s. It did a good job of presenting the good and the bad involved in the culture at the time. Then there is also HBO's Legendary. It shows the legacy of some of these houses and where they've come from, while also showing off all the new houses that are wanting to make a name and legacy of their own. Legendary includes former Vogue Evolution members such as Deshaun Wesley as the host and Naomi Maldonado as one of the main judges. Now, it wouldn't be right for me to get towards the end of this video without talking about voguing in video games. While a niche within a niche, we have seen some examples such as Purge from Space Channel 5, Kitty N and the Far East Commanders, as well as Robo Z in the Buster Groove series, and Eve from No Straight Roads. To finish off this video, I know there's so many things that I may have missed, but I've had to really condense it. I think I've given a rough idea of how ballroom has started to rise to public view over the years and how it got here. Other than that, I'll see you next time.